Okay, before this episode, I just need to do a quick disclaimer. For those of you who don't already know, this Trilbee gaming series is an opinion piece and a way to generate conversation and discussion. This is just me getting on my pedestal to shout at anyone who is willing to listen. For this series and this episode in particular, it's important to remember that the following is my opinion. I'm saying this now because for this episode I don't want to start and end every single sentence with the words "in my opinion", so please have an open mind, respect my opinion, and I'll respect yours. We cool? No? Well, fuck you. Christmas time, one of the best times of the year for gamers. The biggest releases of the year have come out, the holiday sales will play havoc with our wallets, and instead of spending time sat around the fire with the family this year, you might spend it playing Modern Warfare, or maybe having a few rounds of Mario Kart. Let's be honest, if you're watching this series, then you probably already have a game or two on your Christmas list this year, but it's worth remembering what led you to those decisions in the first place. In the holiday season of 2005, the Xbox 360 was released. The following year, the Nintendo Wii and the PlayStation 3 were on store shelves by Christmas, and it was time for gamers to make a big decision. A decision that would influence their gaming lives for the best part of a decade, and would mainly be a gamble. Which console to choose? Unless you're a rich person, in which case you might have bought all three consoles. You lucky bugger. So this video will mainly be me looking back at this current console generation and seeing if I made the right decision, and in doing so, you may understand what type of a gamer I am and why I make the decisions I do. And just to be clear, I am only talking about console gaming, because PC gaming is really broad, and as for the handheld market, well, let's just say it's clear who the winner is. But first, it's important to let you know what type of gamer I am. If you look at my 3 all-time favourite games, the type of gamer I am becomes apparent. I am into finely crafted single-player experiences. That's the key word here, experiences. I only see multiplayer as a slight distraction, and while I do love some party games, it's the carefully crafted experiences that are burnt into my memory. Storming Area 6 in my R-Wing for the first time holds so much more weight for me than teabagging my first racist noob on Xbox Live.
Fire! Fire! Don't let him through!
That's such a great game. The first console I ever owned was a Sega Genesis, and my first game was Sonic the Hedgehog, but because I was far too young to appreciate video games, I'll jump further ahead. I owned a Nintendo 64 because that's simply where my type of games could be found. Sure, the PlayStation was a good console, but sports and racing simulators just don't appeal to me. Traversing huge colourful worlds as Mario, Link, or heck even Banjo, that was just more entertaining for me. For the next generation, I owned a Nintendo GameCube for basically the same reason. Mario, Zelda, and Star Fox were there. It also helped that many of the games that went multi-platform were significantly better on the GameCube. I did end up getting a PlayStation 2, but not by choice. In fact, I only got one because I won one in a burping contest on live television. And no, I am not making that up, but because I was still young and not really that much into gaming, I mainly used my PlayStation to mess around with Grand Theft Auto and play the Dragon Ball Z Budokai games for hours on end. Then the PlayStation 2 became the home of Guitar Hero for me and my brother. I also owned a Sega Dreamcast, and I played the shit out of the Sonic Adventure games and Shenmue, but unfortunately that console quickly faded away. There was nothing on the original Xbox that appealed to me, with the exception of Jet Set Radio Future, so I never got one and I never showed any interest in it. And now for this console generation. As you can probably guess, my first port of call was Nintendo's little white box, the Wii. Red Steel and Twilight Princess were there on Christmas Day, and as far as I was concerned, the other consoles didn't even exist, as my game library slowly grew. Mario, Metroid, Resident Evil and Sonic eventually joined the party, and it all seemed perfect. But then, 2008 happened, with only two noteworthy Wii games, Smash Bros. And Animal Crossing. I felt betrayed and let down. It was also around that time that I played Dead Rising at my friend's house on the Xbox 360, the successor to the console that I completely ignored last generation. I bought a cheap pre-owned Xbox 360, or as I called it then, my Dead Rising delivery service, and a new collection slowly grew while my Wii gathered dust. Sure, I'd dust it off to give Smash Bros. A whirl or to throw some criminals into spikes on Mad World, but I'd spend most of my time on the Xbox, but on a silver membership of course. I am not paying money for a service that everyone else is offering for free. And then there's the PlayStation 3. At first, for me and my friends, the console was a joke, with Halo rip-offs, lackluster online support, and a price tag that none of us could afford, nor did we think was worth it. Now, looking back, did I make the right decision? Well, let's start with the Wii. While I felt betrayed after 2008, I don't regret getting it, nor do I wish to take back all of the hours I spent playing it, and while it's easy to knock the console for its complete lack of quality control, bad online service and shovelware, when you actually look at the list of exclusives, then its game library is actually one of the best this console generation. It's certainly one of the most diverse. I was also lucky enough that if there was a multi-platform game, then I had a HD console to fall back on. But in terms of pure fun and escapism, I think I had more fun with my Wii than any other console this generation. Sure, Nintendo practically abandoned the console after 2008 with the exception of Mario and Zelda, but the third parties really tried to go above and beyond to keep the system afloat. It's just really sad that Nintendo and the install base weren't willing to support them. Now what about my Xbox 360? As I said before, I mainly bought it so I could play Dead Rising, and later on I would come to love Gears of War, but to be honest, I regret getting it. Sure, based on its own merits, it's a pretty good console, but for me, the PlayStation 3 seems to offer a much better experience that suits my personal preferences. For me, Xbox had Dead Rising and Gears of War. I find Halo to be uninteresting, and some of the big name exclusives have been lackluster at best. And like I said, I'm not that into multiplayer, so online-centric games like Call of Duty and Halo just don't appeal to me, and while the PlayStation Online service may have started badly, it eventually grew to match the quality of Xbox Live, the only difference being you had to pay for Xbox Live. Yeah, it's a no-brainer. There are simply more exclusives that cater to me. Metal Gear Solid, Uncharted, Heavy Rain, Infamous, and many, many more. Heck, I'd play any of those over Alan Wake or Crackdown. Heck, even some games that were released on both the HD consoles got a better treatment on the PlayStation 3. Final Fantasy XIII, LA Noire, and Grand Theft Auto 4 were considered superior on Sony's machine, and heck, in Batman Arkham Asylum, you got to play as the Joker on the PlayStation 3 version. That pissed me off. Also, if there was an online-centric game that I was interested in playing, then I could play online on Sony's machine for free. Not to mention, Sony's online community is a lot more mature than the homophobic, racist 12-year-olds found on Xbox Live, or at least that's what I've heard. I don't really have a lot of first-hand experience. As for Sony and Microsoft's motion peripherals, well, they don't seem to care about them, so why should I? And there you have it. There isn't exactly a moral or a message to take away from this video. I just wanted to share my gaming experiences with you this generation. Like I said before, these videos are to generate discussion, and I would genuinely love to hear about your gaming preferences, what consoles you've bought, and whether or not you feel like you made the right decision. This is going to be the last Trilbee gaming video of 2011. Because this was my first full year of university work, I didn't play many recent titles, but the best game that I played that was released this year would be Portal 2, with the runner-up being The Legend of Zelda: The Ocarina of Time 3D. So make of that what you will. Portal 2 is my game of the year, but that's from a more of a casual experience type of thing. And 2012 looks to be a very interesting year. The Wii U is coming out, the 3DS will really start hitting its stride, and for the record, my most anticipated game of next year isn't Mass Effect, isn't Diablo, isn't The Last Guardian, it's this.
ではなぜ読んでいるはずのない本の内容をあなたは知っていたのですか？いいやり！
教授、あなたの指摘には大きな矛盾がある。
You literally cannot comprehend my anticipation for this game.